41 years after its stage debut, and I remember where I was the very first time I saw this, and
Really?
that was the movie. The Rocky Horror Show is as popular as ever, and that's thanks to part in a new Aussie production that's hitting the stage at the moment across the country.
Yeah, the current run of the hit show has seen audiences everywhere doing the time warp, of course, and now the creator of Rocky Horror, Richard O'Brien, is set to join the cast. It's one of the most successful productions of all time, a unique fusion of horror, sci-fi and comedy that's been thrilling fans worldwide for decades. The Rocky Horror Show has been a mainstay on Broadway and the West End ever since its debut in 1972. But it was the big screen adaptation 3 years later that truly cemented its place in pop culture, along with its most famous song and dance routine. The man behind it all, writer and actor Richard O'Brien.
Hello.
Now in the show's 41st year, Richard's down under as a guest narrator in the current Australian production. And Richard joins us live from our Melbourne studio now. Welcome back to the show, Richard. Great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good to see that Craig's finally butched it up for his role as Frankenfurter.
Well, Craig and I first came together in London about 25 years ago, believe it or not, and we had a charity night fundraiser with Rocky Horror. We had Chrissie Hynde playing the usherette, and Craig came on playing Eddie, just coming out of the fridge, and I was playing Frankenfurter. And as we went down the stage together, I saw this look in his eye, and I knew you could read him like a book. He was looking at me and thinking, well, I'm singing this song, but actually I want to be doing what Richard's doing.
Absolutely. Well, and Rocky Horror has been touring now around the world. It seems to continuously play across the world for 40 years. This is its 41st year. And the Aussie show is just doing... It does amazing every time it comes to Australia. What is the secret to the longevity of this show?
I think the fact that it's funny, it's a musical comedy, and people like to be entertained, and it's pure entertainment. It's slightly naughty, but it's not rudely so. It appeals to such a wide group. Goths like it, lovers of science fiction like it, people who love rock and roll like it. It has a very wide sort of fan base.
Is it true, Richard? I've heard that you like to keep a very tight rein on the show, and that is probably part of the reason for its success, is that you have this amazing quality control. No matter where it's playing around the world, you like to know that it's being done correctly.
That's essential, I think. My greatest joy is when I'm standing at the back of the theatre and the audience are roaring with laughter and the band is rocking, and there's kids up on stage having a whale of a time. The energy in the room and the enjoyment of the audience gives me such pleasure.
Has there ever been a production around the world that you think stuffed it up?
Occasionally. Sometimes, occasionally, a gay man, a very gay man, may think that Frankenfurter is a role that he might be a vehicle for him, and generally it goes wrong.
Right.
If Frankenfurter is too effeminate, it becomes a bit of a problem, because he's pansexual and not just just
and the thing is that he's got that quality that everybody wants to be with Frankenfurter because of his free spirit, and I find
that very revealing, Todd.
Well, I certainly do. I mean, look. Well, but that's a whole story that Australian audiences probably already know about. But I'll meet you in Melbourne when I get back there on Friday, and we'll chat about that.
We can discuss that further.
But I think one of the reasons for its success, and certainly when I first saw the show, probably in the early '80s when I first saw the movie, that transgender, that transvestite character was really quite shocking. These days, obviously, we're all a bit more comfortable with that in society, and you've been very public about your transgender experiences with your own life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I got to the point where I went mad about 10 years ago. I stepped off the edge of the abyss, and what I'd been doing was repressing who I really was. and I came out of that, thankfully, and decided that I wasn't going to be crazy anymore, schizophrenically crazy, and just say this is the way I am, and get on with my life and enjoy my life. And truthfully, once you do that, other people can relax around you. If you go into a shop, for instance, and I wanted to buy a pair of high heels, and the girls get a bit ooh hello, and I turn around and say, I've got the frock, and it's a great party, and the next second they can't do it. They're racing around the shop trying to find the shoes for you as well, because they've joined in the fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
Have you been following the Caitlyn Jenner
I can't hear you, Kylie.
Have you been following the Caitlyn Jenner journey very closely?
No, I haven't really. I mean, I have to say that family of Kardashians leaves me absolutely cold. I don't kind of understand that whole kind of thing.
But what do you think about, though, Richard? There's been a lot of chat around the world about people saying that Caitlyn Jenner is really just doing this for publicity and money. You've been through the experience. You've taken the estrogen for 10 years. You know it's not that easy. Would you believe that train of thought?
No, I can't believe anybody would do what we're going through, what he's going through, simply for publicity. No, he has to be driven by more internal forces.
But do you think he's doing any favours to the transgender community?
I don't think it's the duty of anybody to do favours for community. We only use the word community when we want to push across a point. Often I've seen programmes on television where somebody's supposed to be representing a community, and I go, they never asked me to be my representative. I think we should stay away from these kinds of discussions.
Yeah, it's always great when people kind of go, I think I speak on behalf of everybody. Because your first instinct is to go, you don't speak for me. So I totally understand what you're doing. But listen, you're here to play the narrator, so Bert Newton's taking a rest for a few shows. You're stepping into the show as the narrator, which must be fun. You get to see your own work every night done by some brilliant actors, and you get to participate.
It is nice, because often the narrators, like Bert, for instance, he's a national treasure, and others are kind of celebrities in their own right, and they have a different kind of relationship with the audience, because the audience knows them from something else, cooking or whatever. Politics. We had the ex-Prime Minister of New Zealand playing the narrator once, Robert Muldoon. My job is just to be the storyteller and get on with the story, wrap it in a quasi-leather-bound kind of cover, and be rather pompous about it and serious, and allow the cast to do the jokes.
Yeah. It's such a fabulous roll call of hugely talented people right around the world who've played roles in this show. Tim Curry, one of them. Yeah, how's he doing? Are you still in contact with any of the cast from around the world?
We've had at the 30th anniversary of Rocky, we had an advert in a London paper, and we used a field of names as the background to the advert for the show, and the names were just astonishing. They went on forever. And it's been a drama school for many young people in musical theatre. It's been around and lasted for this 41 years. It's wonderful, and it's lovely to have been part of something that changed, made life more agreeable for people who were marginalised and felt marginalised by either their sexuality or the gender kind of conditions, and to have unintentionally made life a little easier for people like that is rather wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's been lovely talking to you. You've been a hero of mine for so many years, and now that we have become BFFs, I would just like to say publicly that I would kill to play the role of Frankenfurter in the next Australian production, and I'll save you some money because I already have the outfit.
I know how you feel.
Great chatting with you, Richard. Richard, we'll be narrating the Rocky Horror Show. You know, don't forget the words ever, do you? That would be very embarrassing, Richard, if you ever forgot the words of your own show.
Well, that would be, wouldn't it?
Oh,
well, I've seen a few. I mean, when I saw Frank Sinatra once and he forgot the words to some of his songs, but that's a different story.
Richard is narrating the Rocky Horror Show for a limited run of dates in Melbourne. For more information, you can see our website.
I wonder if he does use the script or whether he just Free
Well,
balls
we just had him there for like 5 minutes. We should have asked him.
I just asked for a job instead.
Is he still there, Mr. Producer, or not, or has he actually left? I think he's...
Hey, Richard, do you use a script then? If you wrote it, do you know it so well that you don't have to use the script?
Well, no, I don't use a book.
No.
No, I'm...
And do you ever make it up and add a few extra things?
A few lines together.
Good on you. We knew that would be the case. Thank you, Richard.
And I love your coat too. You look great.
Pleasure.
For more information, head to our website. Thanks.